We all know Joe Biden's health hasn't exactly been rock solid during his presidency, but we have had Peter Ducey, who's covered Biden closely for over 6 years, and he's asked the tough questions, putting Biden's health under the microscope from time to time. And today, we're counting down the top 6 times Ducey directly confronted Biden's health, capturing some of the most unforgettable reactions along the way. This is Andy with TrendingPolitics.com. Hit like, subscribe, and let's get into it.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
We know the president says that his health is fine, but it's just his brain. And that he's sharpest before...
He was joking, by the way. I just want to make sure that that's out there. And he was making a lighthearted joke as he was speaking off. He's speaking off the cuff and was making a joke. You know the president; he likes to joke a lot. Okay. He's the same guy who says, "I know I look 40," right? So he likes to make jokes. It is a joke.
Okay.
I think people laugh when he says it.
Well, he also said
joke.
he's sharpest before 8 p.m. So say that the Pentagon at some point picks up an incoming nuke. It's 11 p.m. Who do you call? The First Lady?
He has a team that lets him know of any news that is pertinent and important to the American people. He has someone that is decided, obviously, with his National Security Council on who gets to tell him that news.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
Last one. At a fundraiser this week, President Biden told donors about how Charlottesville inspired his campaign, and then according to the pool, a few minutes later, he told the story again nearly word for word. What's up with that?
What I can tell you is, and I'm going to be careful not to talk about, because this was a campaign event for this upcoming campaign, obviously in 2024, so I'm not going to speak to that, put that out there for the Hatch Act. But what I can speak to is, look, the president was making very clear why he decided to run in 2019. He made it very clear as to what he saw in this country and what was going on. And he got 81 million votes, a historic amount of votes from Americans across the country who believed that this was a president who can help protect our democracy, get our economy back on track, and could be a leader and the adult in the room. And so that's what you saw. I'm not going to speak to comments that were made during a campaign event, but I can certainly speak to why the president is president today and why he decided to take on this job. And it is important for him to continue to deliver for the American people, and that's what he's going to do.
She knows so long as she was denied.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you, sir.
What is the rabbit hole?
Go ahead.
He said he talked to Mitterrand.
Go ahead. You saw the president in Vegas, in California. You've seen the president in South Carolina. You saw him in Michigan. I'll just leave it there. Go ahead. Go ahead.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
President Biden is the oldest president in U.S. history. Why does White House staff treat him like a baby?
No one treats the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, like a baby.
So there's this book that says
that's ridiculous.
When staff walked back what sounded like a call for regime change in Russia, the president, quote, rather than owning his failure, he fumed to friends about how he was treated like a toddler. Was John Kennedy ever babied like that?
So look, I'll say this. There's going to be always a range of books that are about every administration, as you know, that's going to have a variety of claims. That is not unusual. That happens all the time. And we're not going to litigate those here. That's something that we're not going to speak.
For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America, billionaires in America.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
He's smart. He's on his game. His mental acuity is great.
This is a very sharp president.
Something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's totally out.
How bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak.
And the people that I've talked to say he's as sharp as a tack. He's fine.
They say he's sharp.
There's not a problem.
He was sharp. He was sharper than anyone I've spoken to.
The president is sharp, and he is tireless. He is sharp.
As sharp as ever.
And are you guys just not, since February, testing President Biden for Parkinson's or for dementia? Because if he gets a bad result, it's all over that day.
Again, as I've said many times before, the president has had a fulsome, comprehensive, what we shared with you was comprehensive, but he's had a full physical. We've shown the results of those physicals this past 3 years. We showed it just 4 months ago. And it is in line with what we have done, similar to President Obama, similar to George W. Bush. We are committed to continue to be transparent. We are committed to continue to show the results of those physicals. And look, it's the president's medical team that makes the decision. We are not, with all due respect, you're not a doctor, I'm not a doctor. It is the president's medical unit that makes a decision on what the president needs.
Not a doctor, just play one on TV. But I know
that's scary.
That is scary. But I know that, especially as adults get into their 80s, health conditions can pop up more than just once a year when he's getting his physical. I think if my wife saw me on TV misspeaking or saying the wrong thing or seeing a change in my appearance, she would probably say, let's go to a doctor just to make sure that you are okay, you have a family, you have an important job. Why doesn't anybody in the president's family urge him just to go to get checked out to say the coast is clear?
Okay, so just to step back just a little bit, because I think you weren't in the briefing room last week. I don't want to go backwards, but just to share a little bit about that night. The president said it was a bad night. He talked about it. He had a cold, right? He talked about his schedule, right, being abroad. And so we spoke about what that night was like for him. And we understand what the American people saw, what you all saw. We've spoken to that. And I also would say, and I think you know this, Peter, you've covered a couple of administrations at this point, that the president, every president, has a White House medical unit that is with him 24/7, that is available to him 24/7. That is unlike any other American, right? That is not the norm. That is uncommon. Just down on the other side of the colonnade is where the medical unit is. And I did share that the president checks in while he's exercising with his doctor a couple times a week. And so he has that. He has something that majority of Americans, all Americans, I would probably argue, don't have, which is a full medical unit that is with him at all times. And he gets a full physical, annual physical that we share with all of you. And that is very different than an everyday American who sometimes they're lucky if they can go get a physical. They have to get into a car. They have to take public transportation. The president has, again, a medical unit that's with him here at the White House.
Those were Peter Doocy's finest moments, holding Biden's feet to the fire. Biden's health may be questionable, but one thing is clear. We need journalists willing to ask tough questions. Keep watching, keep laughing, and let's keep demanding answers. This is Andy with TrendingPolitics.com. Like, subscribe, and stay informed.